Good morning, good afternoon, or good
Good.
evening, depending where you're joining.
Yeah.
I have a brilliant gentleman here with me. So, Olou Koucoi. So, I'm hoping I pronounce it correctly, right? Olou.
Yes, that's correct, Olu.
Okay, excellent. So, I'm very happy to be here with you today, and we're going to be talking about one of the revolution we don't talk enough about in Africa. That's happening in Africa. Me personally, I know a lot more company go into this sector and it's just going to grow. So obviously we're going to be talking about electric vehicle made in Africa or the Africa adaptation, which is electric bike, right? Or electric motorcycle. So whatever you want to call it. And we have here a gentleman who obviously came up with a very interesting idea, but I'm not going to tell you what it's all about. So Olu, so good morning. So it's great to be able to see you today. So how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Good morning, Tony. This has been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, excellent. Well, Olu, I think we known each other for quite some time now. Yeah, even if we haven't
Yes.
met in person for a little while, but we met initially. We were in Ghana, so for an event, and since then, obviously, we've had a number of interactions together. And then I know that you are a very strong ardent supporters for more clean energy in the continent and energy efficiency. And I'm sure people are going to discover that um, like I did a few years ago. So first of all, to give justice, because I think I like people to find out more about you. Can you tell us more about yourself? Can you introduce yourself, please? That would be great to hear.
Yeah, okay. Tony, like you said, my name is Olou JP Koucoi. I was born in Benin. My father is Yoruba from Nigeria, but he was born in Benin himself. So yeah, all of us, my brothers, were born in Benin from a Benin mother. So we actually grew up in a household of two nationalities. Um, and then, yeah, I went to university studying environmental management and urban sanitation, and was lucky to early on start playing with solar panels and wind turbines and putting together using power alternator to build wind turbine using fan engine to design wind turbines early on in my first year of undergrad here in Benin. But the journey didn't take me straight into solar energy field or renewable energy field. After undergrad, I was recruited in Ohio State University in the US to be a research associate in water and soil chemistry. So I was actually working on the pollution of Lake Erie, which is a lake that separates northern Ohio state and Canada. So we were looking into, my research work was basically looking into agricultural practices, the farmers applying fertilizers, nitrogen and phosphorus, and see if within the rainy season, there's a runoff of those chemicals that goes into the lake, if the lake pollution is coming from agricultural practices or not. So anyway, I was doing more like soil and water chemistry for almost 2 years before moving to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I went to grad school there. So I did a dual degree program between the School of Social Policy and Practice and the Wharton School of Business. So learning more, my focus was mainly not about the business management per se, but organizational leadership and how to engineer businesses. That's where I focused on during grad school. So after grad school, so with some friends, we decided to go back to Africa. Sort of that dream that you get, that fever that you get when you are in the US or in Europe, you see development happening, everyone is energized, and we were like, okay, we were young, let's go back to the continent and let's start helping people trying to build businesses. So we came back to Benin with the idea of training people to become entrepreneurs and working with artisans to add contemporary design to their work so that they can be able to export their work to the US market that we know of mainly. We weren't really thinking about the European market, but more like the US market. So we came down to Benin. We started working with artisans, making different sort of crafts, shea butter, cloth, napkins, and varieties of items. Well, at one point, the market grew in the US, but we were able to deliver because people didn't have electricity. So in most of the villages we were working in Benin and Togo, the artisans didn't have electricity to work at night. So we were able to produce at scale. And that's what led us to pause for almost 3 months our work and rethink. We were actually doing this as a non-profit organization. So we paused and we were like, we started thinking differently. First, we were asking ourselves, if we are training entrepreneurs or artisans to become entrepreneurs, and we haven't been entrepreneurs ourselves, I think we are like, we are trying to be a prophet, but not really applying the lessons ourselves. And then the second thing is we said is, okay, we are expanding the market for artisans in Africa, but then they don't have electricity to grow their production to meet the market demand. So the first thing we need to do will have been to like provide electricity first, and once the production is growing, we can start expanding the market at the same time, do both simultaneously. So first, we switched from being a non-profit organization, NGO, to becoming now registered as a business. And this was happening in end of 2012, 2013. And then switching from doing the entrepreneurship training work to launching a solar energy business, because I already known solar years ago here in Benin, and then being in the US, I learned more about solar panels and wind turbines. And around that time, there's like Barefoot Power and some of these companies start doing pickled solar lights in a box. So we started distributing those from the get-go. But the focus has always been off-grid. So my work has always been in off-grid remote locations. Tony, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I think all you said there was...
This is how we got involved in the revolution of providing electrification through solar panels in...
Okay, so I just want to say that while you were talking, we may have missed a couple of words, but that's not a problem, because that is effectively the demonstration of the issue that we're all working to address here, meaning that you've had some issue with the grid and you switch on the generator. So people can actually see how on a day-to-day basis, this problem is so important to fix and to address. But I'm sure you're going to come back to that. So, Olou, I think you mentioned so many things there, so many things in your initial response. And I just want to pick on some of them and still get to know you as a person first, right? So you mentioned, for example, moving from NGO to a limited company or to a for-profit company, and this is a change that happened to so many people. So how easy was it for you to do it? Because the reason I'm saying that, I know usually from my experience, when you start as an NGO and switching out for for-profit, it's not that easy for people to adjust. So I like to come back to your personality for sure. But can you quickly respond to this question? Because that was so important when you mentioned that, and I didn't want to miss it and lose it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yes, it was difficult to adjust. First of all, it took us about 3 months of doing a fish. We call it it's a strategic planning approach that we use, which is called future planning. So future planning is that you get your whole team together and you do ideation of what you see the organization becoming in the next 5 or 10 years, or even sometimes 20 years. And then each person has their own perspective, and then you can even bring in relatives to employees in the organization because they each also have their own perspective about the relative employee of ours. So we did the feature search, and it's through that we noticed some of those issues that I mentioned earlier. So we decided to stop operation. So it took us 3 months to go through the transition. But then even after transition, it was still difficult. The way the mind is wired when you're doing development work is different from how your mind should be operating when you are in business. So suddenly we start thinking about ourselves and the survival of the business. And I won't say less so about the people, our beneficiaries. And then those are the terms that we were using, beneficiaries and customers. So now it's not beneficiaries anymore, it's become customers. But we did have one good thing about being an NGO previously, was that our customers in our mind is beneficiaries. So our customer service was actually better than some of the people in the same sector. We were, back then, we were the only solar energy company in Benin offering a really reliable after-sales service where we reach out to the customers every other 3 months, even if they don't call us, we check on them. So that we brought that attributes from being an NGO, but it was very hard to have a sort of margin on each product we were distributing, and then thinking in terms of making profit and trying to make sometimes a lot of profit. That was challenging. Ethically, it was difficult for us. But then we seek help from other business owners from the US, where in the US, there's a lot of association of business owners that try to run a business in a more ethical way. So we joined some of those groups, and every time we are operating, we always try to think about the environment, meaning the planet and the people, design the product. So that's kind of an added value to the way I run every business I've started since 2012.
That's excellent, because that reminds me of one of the policy that we follow here at Renewables in Africa, which is the triple bottom line, where we talk about the planet, exactly, the people, and the profit. So I recognize something there when you're describing, but it's just so fascinating, definitely. But one thing I can say is we clearly need to have many conversations. This is just one of them, because there's just so many chapters that we can explore. But the key thing I can remember, I can remember for now, is that you say that for people to remember, moving from NGO to a proper business, for-profit business, the main thing that is changing, and that seems to be changing everything, is the mindset. The mindset is definitely not the same. The way you're driven to for an NGO, the way you're driven for a business. Now, thank you for that. So I'll come back to the business side. Now, back to you as a person. So I could see that you kick off your interest in Benin, then traveled to the US, expanded your knowledge, and then came back. But what is actually driving you here? So what is that you are chasing, as a personal ambition?
Big question. Yeah. Okay. I think my father can answer this better than me, because my father did study political science during the Russian influence in Africa. So he was in Russia, and then came back with some of the philosophical books on that he was studying there. And I was growing up around that same time, so I was sort of his best friend as I was a child. So he would take me to all the political meetings, and then all of his book meeting sessions. And one thing that I grew up with, that stuck with me, was the ideal of leadership during that time, which is doing all you can for the betterment of the people, for the well-being of the people. So I'm not in politics, but for me, it's like using technology and business or engineering organization, engineering people together to work together to, I won't say alleviate poverty because I don't like that term, it sounds insulting, to increase the quality of life. Whether this is like in the US, in Philadelphia, where I work with people, incarcerated people, teaching them different garden techniques so that when they get out of jail, they can join the landscape workforce. So that's the same drive when I'm working in remote villages in Africa. It doesn't change when I'm operating in the US or when I'm operating in Africa. The focus is always about increasing the quality of life, making life better around me. So my mind growing up has always been put to looking into societal problems every day. I actually do it naturally. I don't try to do it. And then whenever I spot a societal problem that I think we can use knowledge to solve, then I started talking to my dad and then his friends when they come home, and then slowly it becomes a project. So
Okay.
from the age of 10, I have always had a project, whether it's getting my classmates together in elementary school to plant trees, to clean some streets, or in college, getting my friends together to launch a tourism business where we take local Beninese to the forest in northern. We have a forest, the largest West African forest in northern Benin, but local people never visit those forests and see elephants or lion. So we got together and to solve that problem, we designed a project around it. So that's kind of what drives me. It's not like money or being, some people say, intellectually snob, like I want to be able to always be reading, growing and knowledge. No. Yeah, I love knowledge, but then I love the practical side of knowledge where I can use it to design tools or accelerate the well-being of humanity as a whole.
That's a brilliant response. That's a definitely brilliant response. I think I get to understand what drives you a bit better, and I can recognize that. So that means are you not afraid that at times you could be chasing perfection?
Yes, and yes, but I do know nothing can ever be perfect. we always we always strive to do the best we can,
Okay.
right? So close to perfection, but not perfect.
Okay, that's great. So would you say that you obviously clearly you are in the way your character is built, you're kind of a pioneer. You have to come up with innovations, making sure that you can improve people's life, which is beautiful. But would you say once that innovation is done, are you still happy to implement it from the operational phase and grow this idea? Or you rather create and move on to something else?
Hey, that I learned that about myself later on in business. That this happened to me in 2000, end of 2015, going to 2016, where I couldn't anymore do the same thing with the solar energy installations. We try to design our own standalone rooftop solar installation remote monitoring technology. I spent a lot of time in California with some Australian friends trying to do that. And we launched it in Africa, but it didn't work out the way we planned. In 2019, yeah, it's working now with Connected Energy, with the UK, London remote monitoring technology team. But back then, it didn't work out the way we planned. So we were still running the solar energy company, like installing solar on rooftops. The machine has been set up. We have 6 different branches throughout the country. We were in Togo. We were getting contracts in Lagos, in Nigeria as well. but the company didn't really need me. The company was smooth and operation was happening without me. So I was just there as the managing director. And in 2016, I just hit a wall where I couldn't anymore. I had to like move on and do something else. So yeah, your question is spot on. I actually I struggle with this. I was like, no, I can do it. I can implement. I can stick with it. I can run it for 10 years. But I know now. To be honest, I'm not the operation guy. No, I have to, like you said, the way I'm wired is more design it, prototype, see it, start running, and engineer the whole thing. It's running, it's smooth. Then I'm bored and I have to find a new societal problem to move on to. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm not really the implementation person.
No problem.
It's hard to say, but I have to be honest with myself at one point in business. I have to be honest with myself and be like, hey, Olou, you are not the guy who is supposed to be running the operation.
That's great. So that means, I guess, from one lesson that you can draw from your experience, which I can reassure you is the case for many, many, many other people. So in my case, for example, I have a wife that is similar. She's similar. That's what I could recognize some threat here. So does it mean that then when you launching a business, you would then prefer to have a partner who can then step on and carry and move the business forwards when it needs to grow to the next phase and beyond?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent.
Like I promised myself in 2018 that I will never start a business alone again, ever.
Okay.
Always in partnership, always.
Always in partnership. Well,
yeah.
I think
that's the key to success in any endeavor.
Yeah. Okay.
Teamwork.
That's great. So you mentioned. So when did you come back from the US exactly?
That was 2011. So I was doing back and forth all the way to 2011, when I graduated, and then we really started the underground operation in 2012.
2012. Okay. And but you mentioned, so there was a group of you that came back. So how many were you coming back and then starting this new idea? Because I had the sense that you were not the only one in the story.
I was there in Benin. I was the only one. So from the University of Pennsylvania and connected universities like Columbia and Princeton, I had some African friends there as well. So some went to Ghana, others went to Nigeria. One guy went to Kenya, but we stayed in touch. One guy, he went to Kenya to do the solar Pico lights business as well in Kenya. But same thing happened to him there as well. Once the business was smooth and running, he sold it, and then today he's doing something totally different.
Okay, that's so was it a bursary program? So how did you get involved into that program that took you to the US?
So I went to the US first as a researcher in Ohio, but then the program at the University of Pennsylvania is a leadership, organizational leadership program. So I was looking online, searching for programs, but I wanted to study how to lead organizations as a whole. So I put within that one organization, I put inside business, NGOs, government institutions. That's all of that is under the organization umbrella. So I wanted to study organizational design and organizational leadership. And I knew this before even going to the US, because I studied 1 year of econ before doing environmental engineering. And during my 1 year of econ after high school, I want to study how to build organizations. And that program didn't exist in Benin. So I did environmental engineering, went to the US as a researcher in soil and water chemistry, but then was looking online for the same organizational leadership program. And I found one particular program that I really liked at the University of Pennsylvania. I went to the program director, talked to him, and then started applying. It took me a whole year to apply. I got in without even knowing that University of Pennsylvania was part of the Ivy League schools. So uh, some people ask me, "Oh, you must be really smart. You went to an Ivy League school." I was like, "What's
What is
Ivy
Ivy
League?"
League?
So anyway, that's kind of how I found the program. I didn't even apply for multiple programs like some of my colleagues back then did. I just knew what I wanted. I went for it. And then later on, I noticed that I was lucky because it's Ivy League. So it was supposed to be really, really selective. But I didn't know until I got in that I was lucky to get in.
Oh, which is great because maybe the fact that you didn't know that, so kind of remove some pressure out of you and you were able to deliver your best, with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that helped. Yeah.
That's a brilliant story. That's a brilliant story. Whoa, you're quite lucky you could end up in Harvard, right? You're like,
Yeah.
what am I doing here? So, that's great. I think that's that's the next segue to the second part. But I just want to first of all already thank you for this initial part where we get to know a little bit more about yourself. And that's a brilliant story. There's so much we can already pick up from there. So what we're gonna do, as I told you, we're just gonna move to the second part, and then because there's still a lot that we need to cover. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you.